change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world, and that's our job. Done.
Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties. Sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
All right. I feel like, hey, it's the Coy and Lola show. I don't know why I'm doing that. I know. I feel like I should be able to play the little, song, because, Bill, he ain't gonna come for me. I'm feeling that kind of Friday today. I don't know why. I feel like old school throwback vibe. Maybe because I'm feeling old. We went to the Mavericks game. I took my children to the Mavericks game. I got basketball players, so we went to the Mavericks game, and I've learned some things about myself. I'm too old for sporting events at night. I'm too old for that. I'm too old. They too noisy. Man bopped me in my head. Like all kinds of stuff happened because they were drunk. We sat, shout out to my boy who looked out, who helped me get some tickets at a reasonable price. I did say reach out. My boy played in the league about 10 years. And I was like, look, I ain't trying to come in and hustle your NBA status. I need some tickets. He was like, I ain't got no NBA status to be, got no hookup on no tickets like that. He was like, I never played for the Mavericks. And we laughed, and he was like, shoot, it's rough out here in these streets. He was like, but I think I know what to do. And so he was able to look out for me. And so, we were talking, and he said, I got you some tickets. And I said, what row are we? I said, what section? He said, do you know the sections like that? I said, no, but I can look it up. And I said, well, better yet, what row am I on? He's like, here we go. And so, it's a difference, Lola, between row BB and row B.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So what's the ticket price according to what we got, one alphabet or two alphabets?
It will determine the zeros.
That's right. So, and I want to know what this hookup is looking like. Like if I got a BB hookup or a B hookup. So we were on row B. My kids were very excited. They have gone to games with their father, and my son said he waved to God. So he was.
My nephew's birthday is this week. Shout out to Steven. He's a teenager.
Happy birthday, Steven.
And I took him I had a player who was playing the Cowboys, but he was on the visiting side. So if someone ever gives you visiting tickets, you are not out. Just because they own the field does not mean you get to sit on the field.
That's right.
You will sit closer to heaven. And I took my nephew, he had to be 7 or 8, and he said, we could just watch TV. And I said, some people are just too spoiled for their own good.
You know what?
Now, mind you, he did have a good time. He yelled and flapped the flap and then had to tell you, I did have a good time.
Yes.
The last time you took me, we were closer
waving
to the
God.
people.
Waving to God.
We were much closer to the people on the field. So.
Well, we went through a period of time, especially working in politics. A lot of things happen in the city. Politicians get stuff. They get a little swag, and the kind of work that we do, sometimes we would get their swag. Nobody cares about us, Lola. Nobody cares about us. We just put the people in the seat. Nobody cares about us.
They forget you put them in.
They sure do forget. They don't even give you a shout out at their acceptance speech. Sometimes you just be sitting there.
You walk to the office and do you have an appointment?
Right. Yeah. What?
She never asked if she had an appointment with me.
Right. When she was calling at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So sometimes we would get this swag, and my child, who's now 11, a few years back, I don't know, 7, 8, I would say, hey, you want to go to the so-and-so? And his message to me would be, in his consideration, are we going to be VIP? And I would be like, these are free tickets, but are they VIP tickets? Or if we were going somewhere and it didn't click before he asked, he'd say, Mom, let me see your tickets. And I'd show him the ticket, and he'd be like, are these VIP? So, they are a little sport. I had to, so it's good that they've had that interaction with their father where they got to wave at God. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes their mama can't, pull it off. Shout out to grandmother who was like, come on, I'm going to go in here with you so you can get some good seats. Shout out to Grand. So, because don't get it twisted. I ain't balling like that. Don't call me and ask me for nothing. I'm not balling like that. I was just trying. My baby graduated from 8th grade. He's a huge Luca fan. Luca came back. We got to go to the game. So, there was a girl abducted from the American Airlines Center a few weeks back. She went to the bathroom, 15 years old, went to the bathroom at the AAC and ended up being sold for sex in Oklahoma. They were able to recover her in Oklahoma, and I told my children, listen, you stay with me.
Yeah.
Stay with me. I don't care that you 14. Stay with me. They out here sex tracking little black boys. Ain't nobody talking about that. They out here they swiping up black boys, little brown boys and girls. Ain't nobody talking about the boys. Ain't nobody saying the devastation that's going on with our children, our boys. So stay with me. There's a lot of conversations been going on about that. All the security, all the police. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what the people at the security is doing. They checking them tickets and looking in your handbag. I told the lady, I said, lady, can I leave him right here? Because I need to run in the bathroom. And she told me to put him on the other side. When I came out, I could have been snatched up. I could have just walked off. She would have never known. She never looked up one time. Now, if we not going to try to protect the police, now she the security, and she said, well, ma'am, don't leave him right there because it's a whole group of people going to come at halftime. So don't leave him right there. Just put him on the other side. Okay, well, thank you, lady. She's good looking out. My baby says she ain't look up one time. Now, is it her job to watch out for my child? No. Does it take a village to protect our children? Absolutely. But, shout out to the lady in the Virgin jacket that didn't look out for my kid. But my point is, this idea that you can trust your children to go to the bathroom on their own is ridiculous. And y'all need to be together. I mean, if somebody was trying to snatch Tisha Campbell up and she's 750, we all out here in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, but I believe that little girl knew the man that abducted her. Listen, y'all got to stop trying to let your kids grow up. No, we got to help them grow up. Mm-hmm. I'm in my children's phones. I heard about the little girl at the school that was going around sending her ninnies to people. Let me see your phone, son. He was like, what's up? Let me see your phone, son. What's up? Let me see your phone, son. He was like, here, mom. I'm going through text messages. I done went all the way back to yesteryear because I need to see if this little girl is sending you tit pics. Because see, they not going to do nothing to her. Mm-mm. But then my son will be in possession of child pornography. Mm-hmm. And then I got to hire, I don't know, Clarence Darrow and I don't know, Thurgood Marshall. I got to dig him up to try to save my child. So I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm not doing it. Yeah, let me see your phone. And it's not even the 14-year-old I got to worry about. It's that 11-year-old. My mama steady saying, Lord, please let me stay till he about 20. Now, look, it's a whole lot happening. I don't know if we can handle her and him. I ain't saying the Lord call her home. I'm just saying it's going to be difficult.
Right.
To deal with the both of them. It's that 11-year-old we got to worry about. The 14-year-old says he got to work on his craft. He ain't got time for girls. Told the 11-year-old to quit his girlfriend. Plus, he said she was ugly. So that was probably the catalyst right there.
Oh,
now
wow.
we judging how they look and whether or not they should be together. So, all of these things are happening, and people are.
And even if you don't, I don't have children, but I know I've done quite a few charity events, and right before COVID hit, there was a huge charity event, and we actually called the police because we knew that this child had been abducted and was sex trafficking. It was in December, and yes, the weather was nice. She was 14. She couldn't speak English. She had on heels, very short shorts, and a halter top. So they had dropped her off for this charity event, and she couldn't tell us. She said it was an uncle's friend, and to that point where I was like, call the police. They can explain to the police, but I believe. And sure enough, she had been abducted, and she had been away from her family for over a year.
Oh my God.
And so, even if you don't have children, it does take a village, and be mindful of what you would want someone to do if your children.
But here's the thing.
Around.
I think it's important for us to say, truthfully, the fact that we are paying attention in ways that we haven't before. We are paying attention, and the little girl was recovered in Oklahoma, and the way that police found her was that she was on a website nude, and they were able to recover her. But my question is, has she been one of us? She was on a website. So they have these websites, these dark websites where you go and you I mean, it's based like a vending machine. Like you go and you pick what your flavor is, what you like. Girls, boys, some animals. People into stuff. Like they had the furries in Vegas. They had a little convention where they dress up in these looking like mascot suits and get it on. Baby, I know it's funky in them suits. I know it doesn't smell good in them suits. It's all kinds of things going on in this world, and it's almost overwhelming, but we really do have to pay attention to our children. And my kids get sick of me, but when we were driving there, I said, listen, this little girl was 15, she got abducted. Now, they found her, they probably not going to find you because they're not going to look for you as much because there's no protection for black people. Little black boys especially. Little black boys deserve protection. They don't get it. Little black girls are on the radar a little more, but if we were really on the radar, we wouldn't be missing like we are. There's a show that came on called Black and Missing, and two women decided that they would take on the charge of finding missing children, black missing children, because I don't want to say no one cares. It's just not the same kind of priority.
Right. No, I mean, but that's in anything. I just read this morning, Brittney Griner, pastor, they have extended her, and no one is talking about her being detained in Moscow. Nobody. And it's just very alarming, because if that was any other athlete that was not black, we would be in uproar.
If it was an NBA player, they would be doing something much different.
Much different. And I mean, this girl, she is like a superstar. And of course, and I had to check an older black gentleman who actually, when it first came out, said, he asked me, he was like, why was she over there anyway? I was like, to make money. They make more money overseas than they do in the WNBA, and it's a lot. But yeah, they immediately go play overseas to make more money, because the money they're not getting paid in the WNBA, and that has a lot to do with endorsements for the WNBA.
Right.
And you can go on and on, but the mere fact that she has been detained, her, even more. They refuse to see her, and we haven't even demanded.
No, we haven't. We're negotiating.
When that boy, that white man, the swimmer lied and did all that craziness during the Olympics, he was over here he was back here in no time.
Well, even the Marine, they said they thought he had TB, and he's been over there for a while. But the truth is, for me, I think that they negotiated and they released someone that they wanted out for this Marine. But there's a package deal over here. You say, okay, well, look, we're going to go ahead and release him, but we're going to need these two. They left several people over there. And so I'm trying to understand why. Is it because he's a former Marine and the president is still reeling from the loss of his son, who was also military? Because, the other one, Bo, is it Bo that died? Which one's on crack? It's crackhead. One of them's a crackhead. I don't remember which one. I don't. Is it Bo the one that passed away?
The one for cancer, I think so, yes.
Yes, okay, so the other son, I don't know his name. He's crackish. He's crackhead.
He had a drug addiction.
No. When you're in recovery, you are always in recovery. Mm-hmm. So, not has. Mm-hmm. Crack. addiction. I'm thinking to myself, do rich white people do crack? Like, who he hang with? So, anyway, I've digressed. But yeah, he was on crack. And so I'm like, so if they had said, you know, so I'm like, if he had been the one that had some more issues and needed to get, would Brittney have been able to come out? Because that's, you know, because it falls in line. Because I think about that in terms of teachers who teach children of color. You know, it was a study that came out that said these teachers treat our children and children of color in particular oftentimes differently, even though they don't realize it, because when they see a little white boy or a little white girl, they see someone that could be their child, or they see evidence of things that their children did. And so to them, it's a lot easier to, I guess, to relate. But when they see, a black child or a brown child, for instance, they see a student, and they deal with that accordingly. And so I'm just wondering, in the release, did Brittney get overlooked because of the military connection that Biden feels? This connection with his family, and I wonder if they're Catholic, because that also plays into it.
We can give that to them. We can give that to. That could play a part with Biden, but we have a whole congressional black caucus that ain't said nothing.
Well, they don't want to get into it because they have to be worried about Putin and the war.
And so
that's really what it is. Like there has been some grumblings, but to your point, not anything significant enough to make you say, okay, what are we doing here? But I think that it's interesting that the president of the United States, whose son passed away, and I mean, I'm sure that's a hole in your heart I never want to experience. I think there was a connection there. I am curious to know if this family is Catholic, because that also plays a role in how people navigate. Brittney should not be over there. They said she had some vape pens. Well, now, Brittney, what was you doing over there with vape pens? Like, I do question that to a degree, because you know these people already don't like you. They already don't like black folks. They only like black people when they show up with their black Madonna and their black baby Jesus. That's the only time. And then they'll tell you a lie and say, oh, it darkened over time. No, it didn't, because if it darkened over time and y'all didn't want it dark, then you would have bleached it. So no. That's not what's happening here. That's the only time they like something black over there is, for their Madonna and child. I understand that she was trying to make money, but we also have to be very mindful of how we make our money. And she's been over there several times. This is not
they
new.
recruit her every year. And so with that being said, she benefit the country. Because every time she win a game, they get paid. She get paid, they get paid. So
and I'm wondering why this group of people is not, why we haven't heard more from them.
Right.
And now is it because it's coming out of Russia?
Probably.
And so it's been suppressed? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and to your point about, even when you said something about the teachers, it's even with in workspaces, in workplaces, there's a subconscious way of handling people based on perception and what you have indirectly been taught. I say it all the time. Just because you don't say the word doesn't mean you're not thinking it when you're interacting with someone. And when you are interacting with that person and you realize you may have to revisit how you are subconsciously handling them, it is definitely can be overwhelming, and to most people, they don't want to look at that, so they continue to try to prove whatever their way of handling, or
they double down.
They double down.
Yeah,
because I know for me, I have it all the time. You still trying to tell me it's raining and you pissing on my foot. We're not doing that.
Well, better your foot than your head. I've had them try to down on my head. I'm like, even with the umbrella, I can still smell
raining.
it. Right.
You're trying. It's just rain. No.
Well,
it's
and
not rain.
I think that we also are looking at, even in sports, with Chris Paul and what happened recently with his wife and his mother. Now, last week we talked about Dave Chappelle. I said there's no protection for black people.
Right.
Dave Chappelle's attacker, the assailant, the perpetrator,
Misdemeanor. Mm-hmm.
4 misdemeanors. 4 misdemeanors, and I want to give a shout out to the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, the district attorney for the Los Angeles City, not the county of Los Angeles, which would encompass several cities, the city of Los Angeles, because they did everything they could. They gave him 4 misdemeanors because the police wanted it to be a felony and wanted the Los Angeles County. So the difference would be Cruzo, who's here in Dallas, would be able to charge it as a state crime, and that's how you end up going to the state penitentiary, right, or state probation. He declined and actually referred it down to the city of Los Angeles, and the best they could do was 4 misdemeanors. They gave him interrupting an event, and you could tell they did everything they could. But there was no protection for Dave Chappelle because this man should have had a felony, and then they plead him out, and then he's restricted from going to that particular arena. He's trespassing. Like, all of these things could have happened with the state if the county had charged him. And so I think it's really interesting with Chris Paul and the Suns, and we had a good time with the game. We beat the brakes off of them. So I thought it was interesting. Here's this man who said he put his hands on my mom. He's talking about a young white guy, looked as though a teenager, and was shooketh, in the words of my son. He was shooketh when Chris Paul said, hey, I'm going to see you later. Hey, I'm going to see you later. Every black person on the planet know what that means.
Yeah,
and apparently he knew too, because he was shooketh. But they said that he was just trying to give them a hug, his wife and his mom a hug. And we haven't gotten the story of what happened. Really what happened. We only got the visual of Chris Paul saying, I'm going to see you later. We didn't get the fallout of what happened. And I'm wondering, was it just not recorded? And so all that was recorded? Because I just think it's really interesting that we didn't get more of the visual imagery of what happened. And so I'm saying the little boy is kicked out of the arena till 2023. Well, 2023 starts in January.
Yes, a few months away.
And season is over.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got playoffs, and then we have a championship. But the season is over. So they basically gave him 4 misdemeanors. There's no felony. These jaywalking tickets you get for accosting, someone's mother, someone's wife, the person themselves, there's no protection for us. We're gonna take a quick break. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip. Stay with me. We're gonna talk about why. Why is there no protection for us? I love history. I got a little history lesson for you in a minute.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud, and computer systems analysts are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
Got Louis on my eyes, but you got them days. Took you a whole year to bounce back. Took me a couple days. You hitting licks, I'm getting rich. I'm hitting C-notes. Watch what you say, I got a pick. I can show you what he know. He can do tricks, he with the shit. Do what I tell him to. If he get at you, I plead the fifth. I didn't tell him to. I hit the block was hot. I had to drop the top. Remember the name, never forget the face. I'm coming back. Won't now, go get your phone now. Yeah. Won't now, Go get your phone now. You should've watched me shine. Look like I hit the lotto. I be on my grind. Bitches think I hit the lotto. You should've watched me shine. Look like I hit the lotto. Bitches think I'm lying. Nah, I ain't hit the lotto. Oh, now, go get your phone now. Cause I'm in a zone now. This is my town. Turn off the lights now. Cause I'm shutting shit down. Send the shots to all my haters. No, I don't promote violence. Where is the waiter? Sign autographs later. Then I gotta go. Sign autograph on the back of my check. Minding my business. Yeah, that's a bet. Baby, my entourage ready to flex. Pop rubber bands. See, we neck to neck. Running the race. I got his next. How does it taste? Pick up the pace. I'm on a new page. My honey's fresh. Like they just came out of a suitcase. Whoa, now. Go get your phone now. Go get your phone. Whoa, now. Go get your phone now. You should've watched me shine. Look like I hit the lotto. I be on my grind. Bitches think I hit the lotto. You should've.
All right, and we're back. So, my kids probably feel like they hit the lotto yesterday when they went to that game. But let me tell you something. Even my baby's like, Mama, it's so loud in here. You know, old people have old babies. So, all right, before we left, we were talking about black people and no protection. Now, y'all know I'm a history major. Dad is a history buff. I love history. It's really his story until you dig deeper and figure out what our story is. But, you know, we're talking about there's no protection for black people. And there's not. I mean, to the point where Chris Paul, they suspended this boy from games till 2023. Okay, so this is May, almost June, July, August, September, October, November.
He only got like 6 to 8 months.
You know, so for unwanted touching. So unwanted touching, whether it's a tap on someone's shoulder or you rub down someone's leg, it is it's an assault. And so unwanted touching of an NBA player's wife and mother is 6 months. The attempt to stab Dave Chappelle is 4 misdemeanors. And so I thought about that because I thought about the fact that basically black people were considered only 3/5. And they were considered chattel, and so you could count them as property, and then that's how much money you owned when they were enslaving us. Because I don't like to say we were slaves; we were enslaved. Because we certainly weren't slaves when we were in Africa. And I think about that in terms of, there's a story, and they did it on. What is that show called? Love Country. What is the show called? With it had Journey in it, and the little boy with the big lips that everybody think is so fine, but his head too big for me. He looked like a little bobblehead. I can't think of his name. And it was Lovecraft Country. That's what it was. Lovecraft Country.
He's from DeSoto.
I mean, is that why his head is big?
No, I'm just saying. Now, I think he has a nice body, but I mean, I'm going to be very honest. If he looked like that boy when I swipe left, right, backwards and forwards on your thing, and you like, this what we doing? I did not know and I'm an art buff, so I love theater and things like that. He's extremely talented.
He is talented.
And that is what makes him attractive to me. But if I walked in the club or a bar.
He's like Nat King Cole, in the words of my mother. You have to hear him sing.
He's smooth.
I was still like, Mama, even when he's singing, he's not the most appealing
he definitely has enough personality to where you say he's sweet, and I'll go out with
Lola's love life took a turn.
Yeah.
Lola's love life took a turn. So with that being said, I think about Lovecraft Country. I thought we couldn't wait for the show to come back on. And, but the books, what really happened is some black people got a hold to it. What's the producer's name that did Get Out? And I love him. Look, thank you. See, Angela always come through. Jordan Peele. He's my engineer. Shout out to my engineer extraordinaire. Jordan Peele. I love him. I love him because when they said, well, when are you going to put and when are you going to do a story, you know, like a horror film with white people in it on the red carpet, with more white people in it? And he said, why would I do that? I've already seen that movie. Like, I
see it all the time.
Right, I love
it is a reality
stuff. So with that being said, Lovecraft Country, they took it and they crafted it and made it where it was black. Mm-hmm. And they took it from a black point of view, and they really took the atrocities and the horrors and you know, and really crafted them into a horror story, mm-hmm. because much of what happens is horrific. Mm-hmm. And so I think about that HBO series when we're talking about no protection, because you know, you buy this house and Journey Smollett, Juicy Smouillet's sister, they buy this house, and it is full of witchcraft and all these things, and she is able to call upon the ancestors to push out the ghost and that committed all these atrocities, all these horrors. And so I'm saying, when we talk about protection, we can look now today what happened with Chris Paul and his wife and mother, and the fact that he had to go out and continue to play, mm-hmm. and try to like block that out. We mm-hmm. ask a lot from athletes. Mm-hmm. Dave Chappelle. We could go down the list, but I look at that and I say, here's a series that really talked about there's no protection, mm-hmm. for us. There's nothing to stop them from dragging you out of your house and lynching you on the tallest tree, mm-hmm. in your own yard. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to stop another Rosewood. I lived in Florida for 4 years. Basically, I lived in southern Georgia because it was Jacksonville, Florida, and a lot of those black people still don't know they're free. But you know, it was those kinds of things, and the fact that we are not talking about them in real time, you know, really talking about it in a way that manifests. This has been happening since they first, you know, forced us to dock, in a sense, because we don't talk about in 1516 when the first Africans were forcibly settled in this country. You know, and we don't talk about the fact that a lot of things have transpired where we are not protected. We had Congress, we had Nancy Pelosi on her knee. I wonder how long they took her to get up after that. You know, when she had the kente cloth off, I thought it was very contrived. I didn't like it at all. But I wonder how long it took to get her up, because and that floor is hard down there. So, you know, it looked very staged. But they are doing all of this, but we just got lynching on the books.
Yeah, this year,
6 weeks ago. Yeah. You know, where it's a
5
crime.
minutes ago.
Where, you know, where is the protection? This man's wife and mother were accosted, and they basically said, don't you do that. So what's to stop somebody from punching somebody's wife or mother or brother or cousin or whatever in the face next time? What's to stop that?
But when you know, okay, the 16-year-old that got off for open fire during the march. Oh yeah. Okay. In Wisconsin. That you know, that in itself lets you. That it's a subconscious thing. We think that we have grown and evolved because COVID made us sit and watch George Floyd. You know, and when I say made us,
I take your point.
You know, and now we're living in a better day. When the reality is, we're not. No, we're not, because it takes a lot to reprogram your mindset and to really be honest with yourself, right? Right. For people who say like, oh, well, you know, there's no such thing as white privilege, and you know, I had to work hard for this, that, and the other. Not as hard as you will ever have to work as hard as me.
Wait a minute, let me say this. Mm-hmm. We went to HBCUs. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me when you went to a PWI, mm-hmm. about how you had to work hard, mm-hmm. because let me tell you why. You never went through registration at an HBCU. No. You never had to deal with Miss Johnson, who was mad at her husband because he was sleeping with the lady who ran the dorms, and so she was not trying to hear nothing you had to say. Yeah. You had to learn to finesse her, talk to the people in the kitchen so you could get an extra piece of cake. Like, if you never had to do that, shut up talking to me, mm-hmm. because those of us who went to an HBCU, mm-hmm. we know. Mm-hmm. We know, and we've had to do far more with far less.
And I would do it again.
over and over.
Because
and
I know
over
that lady
again.
in that administration office, she got that job after she graduated. She ain't left. She should have retired 30 years ago. But I tell you this, if she can hang in there, doggone it,
I can too.
So can I.
And that's a shared experience. So don't stop it. Don't tell me about struggles. I'm even talking to you, some you skin folk. Some of you are kin folk, but I'm talking to you skin folk who went to the PWIs and want to tell me about how they treated you. Well, you decided to go there, boo-boo. You decided to go to the PWI because the vice president of the United States graduated from an HBCU. So, Ketanji Brown Jackson, both of her parents, HBCU. When did she become a Delta? The Deltas is steady shouting her out.
She's not Greek at all.
See, now, some of y'all, see how y'all did? I knew I was going to see Lola Scooby-Doo that because I was like, this ain't sounding right. She ain't said nothing. Now, her daddy is the Bruz from 1960 something or other. Her daddy is an Omega, but it took that to cultivate this woman and get her to the Supreme Court. It took some HBCU graduates. So I don't do that. But, I think that when we talk about where we are today in this country, we keep seeing repeated reminders that we need to be more mindful of what is happening to us. Even when you were talking about Brittney being in Russia. Now, I was kind of like, girl, what you doing over there? But I think you should have a right with a passport and airfare to travel in this world. I think we should be conscious of where we travel, but I certainly don't think that you should be used as a pawn in politics.
And to your point, so here's the thing. First of all, everyone should educate themselves on what they're getting themselves into. Because we all have to hold ourselves accountable for the decisions that we make. However, when you trust someone to manage you professionally, there's some accountability there. I don't know her agent. I don't know her manager. But I do know someone should have been like, hey, don't go over here, or I know this is where we're getting the most money. I know this is this X, Y, and Z.
Right.
However, we're in a time where there could be a war. Don't get over here. I need you to come back.
Were we already at war when she went over there?
I think it was like about to happen.
Okay.
And what made her immediately come back is the fact that, it's like, hey, it's time to come back. Never, and I say this to all athletes, you are only an exception to the rule until you are not.
Yep.
You can only get away with things until you can't. And when you can't, you have to pay the consequences for the decisions that you've made.
Yep.
So I'm not excusing the vapes. I don't know what the laws are with cannabis, weed, whatever. I'm not excusing any of that. However, what I am saying is that she had hired or entrusted people to educate her.
Right.
Because as an agent, you have to, hey, you make this move.
Yeah.
You grown, but you make this move. I need you to understand. Now, we haven't heard from the agent. We haven't heard from management.
That's the other thing. We haven't heard from any of her people. And we have not heard from any of Chris Paul's people. What the freak happened? Now they're saying it was an unwanted hug. An unwanted hug is assault. It's assault.
Because I'm going to tell you, if a black boy, if Hayes or Zion would have...
Wait, hold on. We rebuked that in the name of Jesus.
Yeah, they're not going to.
Blood.
Even my nephew, Steven, if he had reached out and hugged anyone white,
blonde-haired and blue-eyed in particular,
it would have been sexual harassment.
Melee.
It would have been sexual harassment.
They've been trying to get the child to register as a sex offender. Yes.
It would have. He would have been held accountable and tried as an adult,
taught and feathered,
with a child's mind. And that is, you think about it.
That's right.
That would have definitely hurt. So miss me with all the extra stuff. And it's a subconscious thing. You're trying to protect what you have instilled in this country, what's laid as the foundation, by the forgiveness of bad behavior and poor decisions.
That's right.
And that's not cool.
That's right. And I think that what we really need to talk about, is why are we not in more of an uproar?
Right.
You know, why am I the only person that's really saying, hey, this ain't right? Like, where is the black community in Los Angeles County saying Dave Chappelle is one of us and we want justice? Because what's to stop the next person from actually, I mean, what if the next assailant, perpetrator, criminal, because he's criminal, what's to stop that person that's not as clumsy, not as unathletic as the first fool who tried to stab Dave Chappelle? What is to stop that person from doing it? Because all you're going to get is a slap on the wrist. We're setting precedents by not securing us, protecting us. Even with my son's AAU team, where it's a predominantly all black team, with I think one exception. And I'm saying, this is a problem.
Right.
Because even in trying to correct some actions, I was the mom that stood up and said, wait, hold on. I don't like how this is going. This baby's been emasculated. You've got people watching. We need to protect. And I feel badly for Chris Paul, because we also ask our athletes to deal with everything that goes on in their lives and then go out and perform. It's really, shut up and dribble. That's basically what we said to Chris Paul. Yeah. Shut up and dribble.
We still got a game.
Yeah, and I think it's a plantation mentality that he was not allowed that time, because all of that happened, and there was a stop of the game, but they should have stopped that game and given that boy let him go to the locker room and give him an opportunity to get his head in the game, to talk to his family, to know what happened.
It should have been a timeout.
It should have been a timeout called by the referees to give him an opportunity to regroup, and that was not done, because there's no protection for us. There's no protection for black people, regardless of your station in life. We are basically all told to shut up and dribble, or shut up and run. And I think that we need to start talking about it more. And here's the other thing: we're so afraid that we gonna miss something that we talk about it and we move on. We don't necessarily have a real opinion. We kind of put it out because we want to be objective. I don't want to be objective. I want you to know exactly where I'm coming from. The NBA needs their tail whooped for letting that happen and not giving that man an opportunity. And maybe he said, no, I'm going to go out here and play. But clearly he was upset, and he should have had time to get himself together. I think that we are playing games when we as a people do not come out in support of our people in Los Angeles County, with Dave Chappelle, with Dallas City, with what happened to Chris Paul. They should have been saying more. I think Phoenix should have been saying more, and I think we still need to know what exactly happened. Because if we don't know what happened, then how do we protect it against the next time? We do know what happened with the little 15-year-old girl that walked off, because she walked off. Then nobody just snatched her up. I mean, well, perhaps it could have happened. But we know what happened. Why we don't know what happened with Chris Paul's wife and mother? I just think at some point, black folks need to stand up.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, Chris Paul, he does have a PR team.
Right.
And I don't know who she is or who he is, but the reality is they should have let that story go. And it definitely should have been more of it, because that's education for us.
Right.
We can't, even for us to be in uproar, what am I in an uproar for? Because like we said, we still don't know what exactly happened. And to say, well, we got all this other stuff going on. And we do that a lot, especially black people. And I notice because, and I love, my dad, I love him, and he's like, you got to look at the bigger picture. I know what you, neither one of us are wrong. However, if you don't correct something in that moment,
that's right,
and you want to know why they keep doing whatever they're doing, it's because you never corrected in the moment. And then by the time you keep letting it go, and then you correct it later on in time, it was okay in the past, and I'm still trying to figure out why it's not okay now. Well, it's not okay. It wasn't okay in the past.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so since it wasn't okay in the past, it's not
But
okay
we
now.
can't.
But
we keep waiting on things to get better on its own. It's not happening. Lynching just got on the books. Like what? Lynching just got on the books after they said all these kids killed themselves. Black folks do not hang themselves.
No.
Black people do not.
Even
White people, black folks do not hang themselves. They don't do that. Let me just give this before we take a quick break. My mother is a huge country western fan, so we grew up with Kenny Rogers and Willie Nelson, and my mama's a big fan of the Judds, excuse me. Naomi Judd killed herself, and I did not. I knew
so
she
they
had
did?
Ashley Judd came out and said that her mother used a firearm. You know, there is a lot going on in the world, and people look like they have it all together, but they don't. We talked about suicide last week of the little girl from Southern University that killed herself. That's from DeSoto. Listen, it is okay to not be okay. It's not okay to stay that way. You know, I have a cousin who has a dis-ease. Instead of disease, we call it a dis-ease. I got that from her. And she said something's not right with me, and she checked herself in. You know that you're not okay. There is no shame in that. We are dealing with a whole lot of things. Everybody's processing differently. Get help. Tell someone you need some help. You know, the same way at the church, you know, when you accept Christ and they say, I'll walk down with you so you won't have to be embarrassed. You know, find somebody who's going to walk down with you so you don't have to be embarrassed, because whatever is going on that is weighing down on you, it is a temporary problem, but you're choosing a permanent solution. This is called with the Black Tea Sip. We got to pay some bills, and we'll be back in just a minute. Let's talk about some politicians that are lying, Jasmine Crockett, and you know, we got some other stuff to talk about, and we got to get to Lola's Love Life. This is Coy, Lola's Love Life in a minute.
Who is thirsty? Funkle Joe here, hosting Over a Drink, broadcasting live each week, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. from Fishbowl Radio Network in Arlington, Texas. Pull up a chair, log in with Funkle Joe as we talk real life, what is said over homemade sweet tea, a glass of wine, or whiskey on the rocks. Together, we get to the bottom of the glass each day, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Catch Over a Drink
on FishbowlRadioNetwork.com. Jump in.
Oh, yeah.
Podcasters and internet radio hosts, it's time to take your show to the next level. Hi, my name is Sammy G, a 30-plus year radio broadcasting veteran, public speaker, and voiceover artist. And for the last 11 years, now the proud owner of Fishbowl Radio Network, the largest and most listened to streaming platform and radio station facility of its kind. 2 years ago, I created a proprietary system to help podcasters and internet radio hosts learn how to program their show like the pros, build a constantly growing and loyal fan base, and monetize their show. I teach this system every 6 weeks via Zoom to individuals all over the world. The Behind the Mic Masterclass is 6 one-hour classes that will finally take your show to the next level. Call today, 817-633-4880, 817-633-4880, and reserve your seat for the next Behind the Mic Masterclass.
Hey DFW, it's Luna and Nika, owners of Real Dallas Properties and Management, here to serve all your real estate needs. Nika, tell them what we do.
So we're a Dallas-based boutique real estate brokerage, and we're full service, which means we can help with every and any type of real estate transaction.
That's right, we got your back at every stage of life.
Whether you need an apartment, a home rental, to buying your first home, selling that home, buying investments, to even property management.
And don't forget commercial, looking for a new space for your business? We got you on that too. You can reach us on Instagram at Real Dallas Properties or shop all properties on the market at RealDallasProperties.com.
Hi, this is Diane Marion Eunice, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. For the past 9 years, I have worked with over 300 couples in the areas of sexual health, communication, and conflict resolution. If you are interested in rebuilding connection and intimacy with your partner, please contact me today. I can be reached at 682-201-8175, or you can email me at diane@letstalkrelationships.org, or visit my website at www.letstalkrelationships.org. And remember, you can't heal if you refuse to deal.
Attention, Kiko is hiring. You heard right. Kiko is hiring. Kiko is looking for you to fill the following positions: seamstress, machine operators, forklift drivers, loaders, packers, and baggers. 2 shifts are available. First shift Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Saturday, and 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. overtime. And second shift Monday to Friday, 4:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Saturday, and 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. overtime. Kiko offers great medical benefits just 30 days after hire and company match 401k. Visit us at KikoHome.com and submit your resume to Cariano@lkiko.com. You can also apply in person at 5450 West Keith Boulevard in Dallas. All interviews are conducted in person. Don't miss this great opportunity. Get hired today at Kiko.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job. Done.
Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties, sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
All right. And we're back. This is Coy with the Black Tea Sip and Lola of Lola's Love Life. And if you're just tuning in at the 12 o'clock hour, we just want to say, hey, y'all. So it's Friday. It's gorgeous outside. And we're talking about things that, just, how my mind works, things that go on in my head. And Jasmine Crockett is running for Congressional District 30. If you're local, then you're well familiar with Eddie Bernice Johnson. If you're not local, then she's been around as long as Auntie Max from, Maxine Waters in Congress. Not as well liked, and certainly not as good looking. And so, what has been said about EBJ in more recent years is that she has the highest turnover rate in Congress. She does not retain her staff. There's not a lot of retention. She, and people say she's mean. People have said she's just cruel. Now, a lot of conversation has been going on in the Greek world about the fact that she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Jasmine Crockett is a member of Delta Sigma Theta, basically our children. And so Jane Hope Hamilton, who Lola and I both know very well, is running. Now, Jane's been around for the past 20-something years, 21 years, I believe, and she's been working for North Texans. Now, I'm just going to be real candid, because on this show, Black Tea Sip, we sip power to pour truth. So we're going to go ahead and do that for y'all. Grab your cup, baby. I'm going to fill it up. Let's have a real conversation about what we know about Jasmine. So, some years back, I was asked by a childhood friend of mine to come on board to Simone Redwine's campaign. Now, Simone is a very lovely, very smart, very gracious young woman, very pretty, but also very smart. Cornell Law School graduated from an Ivy League, went to college at University of Pittsburgh. I don't know nothing about Pittsburgh. She, at 16, graduated from Bishop Dunn. So, and let me just put a pin in that. Don't let me forget to talk about Bishop Dunn today. So when I came on board, I was told that there were a lot of things going on with the campaign, and there was a full smear campaign going on. Well, there were some other people that were very familiar with Jasmine, knew her, and knew that she said she was going to have this smear campaign against Simone. Well, I got involved and dug deep and realized that the reason that she had this smear campaign against Simone is she thought that Simone was involved with Lee Merritt. Lee's my friend. but I believe, if we're going to tell it, we're going to tell it all. And I know Lee like, Koi, don't put me in it. But Lee and Simone were not dating. He was, in fact, dating someone else, but I'm going to leave her nameless because she's not adding to this story at all. But there was another woman that was running for office who is an attorney who Lee was with and ultimately went on vacation with after, but I'm not going to call her name. There's no need to. So Jasmine Crockett attacks Simone and says that Simone is a drug addict.
Oh, wow.
It is not true.
Well, it takes one to know one.
Now, Simone did a improv that was videoed about being an adult and having to take Adderall for concentration. It was joking, but she touched on some very real things and talked about kids, and that was taken completely out of context and used against her. Now, here's the thing. As a civil rights attorney, why are you out here attacking a black woman? I said it before, I'll say it again. Black people who claim they love black people do not disrespect black women. Mm-hmm. Politics is a messy business. Lola and I know we work together in politics. Now, I'm not naive, and I'm fully aware that people say and do all kinds of things, and it's mudslinging, but there's no way for you to stand in the mud, throw rocks, hide your hands, and then play like you're clean. You can't do that. Now, you just own your stuff and you move on. There have been some things that I've done, I own it. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's why I have the relationships that I have, because I don't do no shaking and faking. With Jasmine, there is a lot that I know personally she has done. But aside from that, from the whole Simone thing that I thought was just egregious, because it wasn't about winning a campaign, Lola. It was about destroying this young woman so that she wouldn't have a livelihood. It was about saying things, because who wants to hire a high lawyer?
Right.
So if she didn't win. But none of that was true. And she took it completely out of context. Okay. So fast forward. She gets into the state house, basically out of obscurity, because a lot of people who run for office who actually can do the job, are not popular.
No, I would agree with that.
They don't know how to be popular.
Right, because they're doing the job.
And they're usually the people who are really good at the job are usually not the people you want to sit down and talk to.
Have dinner with.
Yeah, they're just not. I mean, it's like, it's like lawyers and doctors. Most of those people in high school, you think back on, you're like, yeah, they were smart, but they were never the people you wanted to hang out with. Mm-hmm. It's just the truth. So when they're doing the job, their head is down, they're getting the work done, and they usually only know the people in those circles to further perpetuate or foster whatever the agenda is. And if they're good at their job, the agenda is to help their constituents. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about Congress, it is to help all the people that are socially, economically oppressed, that are having to deal with low education, poor health care. That is the Democratic mantra. But if that's the case, that's typically who they are best familiar with, is the people who are opposing that agenda and the people who are with them in that agenda. Mm-hmm. But they're not popular. The popularity contests, they're usually not very good at running those. Mm-hmm. I don't know why Jasmine is, because she's not the kind of person that you just really want to be with. Mm-mm. And she keeps wearing these sequin pants, and that's like an enigma wrapped up in a... I just don't understand the sequin pants. She wore the sequin pants to a forum at the church. She's just strange. But here's what I know. I have family that's from Texarkana. Jasmine ran for office in Texarkana on the Texas side, not the Arkansas side. And she was there were rumors, and I am calling them rumors, about her having impropriety with money, allegedly. Jasmine ran for DA and lost, and there were a lot of people that came out against her and talked about the things that she had said and done while she was in office. But she was also the county chair of the Democratic Party, and there was impropriety alleged about the money. So she skips town and she comes to Dallas. And she makes it known that she wants to run for Congress. Let me say this. I'm sick of all these transplants and y'all keep letting them up in here.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. It's not even the fact that, well, it is. One, she's a transplant, but how long she's been here. She hasn't been here long enough to even relate or really have
understand
the people and the needs of the people. And you got to understand that politics only is a popularity contest if you fall into that campaign of a popularity contest. Right. This is your life. And every time you vote, you are saying, I am voting for this person because I trust this person to make the best decisions on behalf of me.
Okay, let's talk about that, because I ran into the people at the polls and they told me they were voting for Jasmine Crockett because EBJ endorsed her. Now, my mother, as an educator, tells the story. EBJ went to our church, St. John Missionary Baptist Church. We're not members of that church anymore because of Bailey, but that's a talk show for a different day. And she's also a member of the same chapter as my mother. So they knew each other. My mom saw her at church, stopped her. My mother said she didn't want to be bothered, but my mom didn't care. And she told that they didn't have books for the kids. They only had one set, and the kids had to share them. She said these kids need to be able to take books home. My mother tells a story that when she got back to her school, there were so many books they almost didn't have a place for them. Because she said, what you mean you don't have books? EBJ used to be about the people. But they're in Congress so long, supposedly getting things done. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the presidency unless it's Trump, like 8 years is too long for a Trump. But I think there are often times where 8 years is not enough time to really get the job done, because you're having to deal with the Senate and the House. And in order to really put forth your agenda, you need more time than 8 years. But then I scale back from that, because I certainly wouldn't want a Trump in office for 12 or 16 years.
I don't want him in for 5 minutes, let alone, yeah.
And I don't understand why these hamburger stuff haven't killed him yet. But let me talk about something else. So here's where we are with Jasmine Crockett, because I'm going to tell it today. I haven't really said everything that needs to be said. Jasmine Crockett is a liar. She is a liar. She lies. And what I have a problem with is the fact that we have all of these people who are saying secretly behind closed doors on these little text messages, she's a liar, but they won't say it publicly. She says she orchestrated the walkout when we saw the Democrats leave and go to D.C.
Yeah.
How does a freshman one-term state House representative orchestrate any doggone thing? Let's talk about that. She doesn't have the money to charter a plane. She doesn't have the relationships to charter a plane. Everybody that she was meeting in Congress was a first-time meet. So how would she have orchestrated? And you yahoos are out here believing this mess. Where is the deductive reasoning?
Well, here's the thing.
Where is the logic that comes behind this?
She orchestrated, and this is just, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. If you tell me you orchestrated a walkout and led us to D.C., but the majority of your peers hold your seat are not endorsing or supporting you, then something is wrong. Because you mean to tell me they trusted you to go to D.C., but they don't trust you to be in D.C.?
Right.
That's just, I mean, sometimes you have to really think about it. It's not about what the law says and, legislation and who wrote it and who's their chief of staff. None of that really. It is really listening to what people say. It is really listening and seeing what is being said, and if it is contradicting itself. If you say you led a walkout and everybody walked out with you and got on the plane, I don't understand what happened between y'all coming back from D.C. where they said this isn't good.
Right.
And we cannot trust her.
Right.
Her peers. Now, there are people outside of the city and state of Dallas Texas that are supporting her, but those people have no idea what's going on in the city and state of Dallas, Texas. So their support is not really relevant or valuable based on the fact that the person that sits next to you at the state capitol won't have nothing to do with you.
Well, and I think this whole thing about EBJ, well, EBJ endorsed her. Well, okay, EBJ might have endorsed her, but what has EBJ done in the last 5 years?
But here's the thing.
10 years, 15 years.
EBJ endorsed a stranger. She don't even know her. EBJ don't know anything. And what does that say? Is this more about endorsing Jasmine, or is this more about not endorsing someone else?
Well, and I think there it is.
Because that is like your mother.
Like my mother?
Or anybody's mama who you say you have a very close relationship with.
Right.
Saying that they love, or in their will, giving all their stuff to a third cousin on your daddy's side who you never met. Is that really about knowing that this third cousin needed something? Or is this really about the fact that your mom did not want you to have it for whatever reason?
Well, and I think that's the point that we're making. You know, you've got someone that's highly qualified who has literally been working for 20 years, who has raised money for EBJ. And I'm going to be honest with you. EBJ does not like Jane, and we don't know why. I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why I think she doesn't like her. I think she looks at Jane and she knows Jane doesn't need her, and EBJ needs to be needed. Because if EBJ is not needed, then
where does that put her?
Then she's facing not only her political mortality, but she's also facing dying out and not having the power that she has been wielding for the past 30 years. I can remember when my dad's best friend, Charles Whitmore, worked for State Senator Royce West. And he said they call her the hatchet woman. Now, he didn't go into detail, my earshot of why they call her the hatchet woman, but we've already talked about she cannot keep people on her staff. I'm not going to call any names, but I know people personally that says she is mean for no reason.
I believe that.
Mean for no reason. And she cannot keep staff. You know, she cannot keep legislative aides and staff in her office. People are leaving. Her goal is to make you cry. She's not going to be able to do that with Jane. The control and the manipulation is not going to happen with Jane Hamilton. She has tried. She has attempted time and time again to stick it to Jane. And Jane just kind of bobs and weaves like Dave Chappelle did that man who's coming at him clumsily, because she is about doing the work. And I think where we are about to face this race on May 24th, I think y'all need to really look at what EBJ has and has not done. Because it's been a long time since she sent books to somebody's school.
And I really think you need to look at what Jasmine has and has not done. Just at all. I mean, even in the seat she's in, she hasn't been there long enough to do anything. She's not chairing.
Well, no, hold on. She has been there long enough to do something, because she skipped 3 votes. She's saying she's a civil rights activist. She is saying she's a progressive. She is saying that she is here for the people. And she 3 times, not once, not twice, thrice, 3 times, she skipped the vote. She skipped the vote of the very things that they were walking out about. But she orchestrated it. I got receipts. We're going to take a quick break. This is Call with the Black Tea Sip. I'm going to find the receipts in a minute.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Ardor skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters, and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Ardor. Love is real. Just spread it.
Over a year ago, we gave you the marquee. Luther Vandross and his bros in Queens. Abundantly satisfying, we did more than please. Made you part of your bit and put your mind at ease. And then we spoke on everything else in between. We ain't come for the shine, but we left with the rated highly approved. Put you back in the mood. Gave it to DJs and put the needle to the groove. All star, all minus, all par. Booth the VC. send Q, and we are loose cannons, no comparisons by far. We do what we do when we are who we are. Dope music, high jump, raise the bar. So soothing, we do what they are. The vision would seem like Stevie and Ray Charles. In the hazy room, fat sacks and fat gauze, yeah.
Back to back, nice partying. Only stop to pray and then we start again. Just live today and let the rest go. We already know the way, baby, let's roll. And get back to the groove, back to the basics, back in the mood. Back to the music, back to the truth, back to the proof. I'll be watching over you, coming back. Things, big dreams, I'm still big, and it's the big time. Bright lights in the big city, big ego. Pockets getting bigger, big Nino. Big under pressure, hit some pretty big free throws. I've been cold, started a fire, still froze. I am someone you should admire. The eye of the tiger. From now on, address me as sire. The situation could be more dire. Deep sea diver, from out the frying pan to the fire. MCs be like backseat drivers, tell them buckle up. Big trucks, we riding big wheels. Big pump, big tuck, bitch, I'm a big deal. Bigger the cap, the bigger the billing. The bigger her ass, the better the feeling. The bigger the bag, the hyper the show. I take it in cash and 20s and more. Back to back, nice partying. Only stop to pray and then we start again. Just live today and let the rest go. We already know the way, baby, let's roll. And get back to the groove, back to the basics, back in the mood. Back to the music, back to the truth, back to the proof. I'll be watching over you, coming back. Back to back, nice partying. Only stop to pray and then we start again. Just live today and let the rest go. We already know the way, baby, let's roll.
All right, and we're back. This is Corbett, the Black Tea Sip. If you just joined us, we're talking about lying politicians. I'm sick of it. I've been quiet a little too long for my liking, and Lola and I are personally familiar with these people. We know what they've done, what they haven't done, and I think we need to talk about it because we've got a big race coming up. This Congressional District 30, CD 30. Listen, CD 30 takes a little bit of Grand Prairie, a little bit of Arlington, a little bit of Fort Worth, and Dallas. A big chunk of Dallas, and a lot of that chunk is Oak Cliff. I know this show is international. Shout out to my people in Afghanistan that listen in, that can't listen in now because I'm sure they're asleep. But Oak Cliff is 60% of the city of Dallas. And people don't know that. It is 60% of the city of Dallas, and it's not just Oak Cliff. It's Cedar Hill, it's Duncanville, it's Lancaster, DeSoto, Duncanville. So it's black folk. This is a black district. Jasmine Crockett has not been here 15 good minutes. She touts about being a civil rights activist. The Botham Jean family is pissed at her, and I'm using pissed as a technical term. They are PO'd about the fact that she used their son's tragic death to further her own agenda. Mm-hmm. And they have told her to stop it. I mean, to the point where they were talking about a cease and desist and getting an attorney to go after her. I have been told by my best friend, who has since passed away, that because her cousin is married to Jordan Edwards, the little boy who was murdered, senselessly murdered by the Ball Springs cop, mm-hmm. who shot into the car and killed him. Now, my best friend's cousin is married to Jordan Edwards' best friend's mother. It's a lot to be said, though. You got to connect all these dots, right? Now, allegedly, because Charlotte's not here, allegedly, they were very upset. The Jordan family, they of course shared, because the cousin, Charlotte's cousin's wife's son, was in the car when Jordan was killed. How upset and disappointed they were with the legal team that Jasmine was a part of, and asked them off the case. Now, this has happened numerous times, and she uses these high-profile cases, but she does not bring them all the way through. These are civil trials where they're getting the money. She is not bringing these cases through. Jasmine is not doing that. I mean, I think somebody needs to be out here saying these things. They need to be talking about these things, and they're not. There's a big thing going around now, Lola, that Jasmine Crockett, that she actually defended a rapist. So when it first came to me, I said, everyone it deserves a zealous representation. They teach you that in law school. They teach you that as a 1L. First year law student, everyone deserves zealous representation. And you have a lot of lawyers that catch a bad rap because they defend rapists and pedophiles. In Jasmine's case, I understand she has not told me this personally, but people that I know that she was appointed to the case. Well, okay. The problem is that they're saying that, and this is allegedly, saying that she made some decisions, and there's a, I'm gonna see if I can find it. There is a tweet that she put out there about the guy had to expose his penis to prove that he wasn't the rapist of this young woman. And she said, if the peen doesn't fit, you must acquit, or something like that, you know. And it was joking. Rape is not a joke. No. She said she's a vice girl. Well, I mean, we've been hearing for a few years now that she's allegedly a cokehead. But she said she's a vice girl. She has vices. Let me tell you what I do know one of her vices is. It's money. Because she has sold out CD30 to the point of, I think, $3.6 million now. Now, she doesn't have a tie to the community. She's not from here. She hasn't been working for the community for the past 20 years. She hasn't been in the trenches. Many of us didn't even know she existed until we started hearing all these terrible things about her. And then I had the misfortune of actually meeting and interacting with her. And then she comes out and says, I'm for the people. I'm going to take this $3.6 million from a billionaire, a Republican billionaire that lives in the Bahamas. And but I'm still with y'all. I mean, at some point, you got to do your own thinking. And my grandmama said, if it don't make sense, it's a lie somewhere. Not to the tune of $3.6 million, cryptocurrency. You know, I think that we need to have a real conversation about why Jasmine Crockett is even on the radar, and that's because of EBJ. But EBJ hasn't done anything for us in the past, I would dare say, 20 years. And she's the most distasteful person you ever want to meet. I have had the misfortune of interacting with her to the point where now when she would come around, I just turned my head and wouldn't even look at her. Because she is so nasty acting. You know, people, she don't like people. I guess they too people-y for her. She doesn't like people. You can't.
Well, then you can't be a person of service. You cannot say you are here to serve the community if you are not a people person. Now, I will say this. There are some people that are people friendly, but are not friendly people. And people friendly serve, but you know they're not going to have a lot of parties, and they're not going to do a. They're going to be very,
I'm
very
not saying
private.
he serves, but he's the curmudgeon. Yeah. You know, the cranky old man.
And so, with that being said, however, you cannot service people and hate people at the same time.
It's an oxymoron. I'm not fluent.
Your attitude is a reflection of who you are too. Like, I'm not a therapist, but I'm just gonna say.
Well, you play one on the radio.
You know? But at the end of the day, yes. And the thing about, I've had the unfortunate pleasure of
the misfortune
of meeting Jasmine as well. And it's, I mean, from the very first time I've ever met her, I knew way before she was running that she didn't care about me or anybody else. She cared about
herself and
if
her agenda.
And if it takes
That's
you
right.
to take her down, if it takes me for her to win, she gonna take me down and not think twice about it. And we have to be mindful of that because we are in a critical space.
Yes.
And in that critical space, you cannot. We as Black people cannot afford to make major decisions that will penalize us for decades to come.
And you need to vote your own. Vote your interest. If you're concerned about jobs, then you don't vote for somebody who's going to take $3.6 million, who can't even vote in the House for the very thing that she said she orchestrated a walkout. And you know, you shouldn't need me to tell you these things, but I'm here for you, baby. I just think that at some point, we need to really have a conversation about what this chick is and is not doing. Angelo's got the receipts. So I'm going to play this commercial, but y'all do your own research. You don't need to listen to me and Lola. You need to take the time to investigate because your vote is so valuable. Your vote is valuable. They wouldn't work so hard to try to stop you from voting if it wasn't worth something. But let's play the...
When Republicans passed the
That most of
discriminatory
the
voter
people who
suppression
are
law
against
last year,
abortion
they
are
had
people you wouldn't want to
Jasmine
fuck in the
Crockett.
first place.
Crockett skipped all 3 votes to block the Republican attack on our voting rights. Crockett's unexcused absence helped Republicans pass the worst Jim Crow voting law in the country, when our voting rights were being stolen from us, when we needed her most. When the fight was really on, Jasmine Crockett was gone. The Texas Justice Fund is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
I don't like people who throw rocks and hide their hands. I don't like liars. I understand this is politics, and everybody might not tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth every time, but the truth of the matter is that this girl is not telling the truth about anything, and EBJ's lying too. And you have to ask yourself, well, why would they lie? I've had so many people come to me, Lola, and say, well, Cole, why would EBJ endorse her?
Because she got to cut of that, too. Listen, she didn't meet these people by herself. She ain't that relevant.
Ooh.
She's not that relevant that she met these folks with $3 million by herself.
That's right.
That's just the truth. Because if she did, she wouldn't have one eye full of lashes and the other one empty. And I'm just being
and wearing them sequin pants.
Everywhere.
I
mean, I am one who is committed to the bundles, and I make it a real investment. Meaning, when you pay over $500 for bundles, you don't go to the $50 weave shop to get it installed. So even the lack of her investment in her hair, and yes, this is all cosmetic. What does that have to do with the decisions that she makes? They're poor. And she is consistent with making poor decisions outside and inside. And that's evident.
I think it's important to note, let me get some glasses here. I need some glasses. Crypto traders bet big on Jasmine Crockett's run for Congress. This is by Michael Mooney, Axios. Axios also comes on HBO. So listen, they're talking about special interest groups spending on House candidates in 2022. Nina Turner in Ohio, $2.3 million in every endorsement you could think of. Right under her, Jasmine Crockett, $2.2 million. This was in April 6, 2022. Since then, she got another $1.6 million from this same Bahamian billionaire. Then you've got Carrick Flynn, $2.1 million. Karen Carter Peterson, Carrick Flynn, Oregon. Karen Carter Peterson in Louisiana, $2.1 million. Christian Collins, $1.4 million, Republican in Texas. But you've got 6 Democrats. Now, why are Republicans pouring money into Democratic districts? Anytime they cannot redraw the lines and carve us out of a district, that's a problem for them. They carved out a district in part of North Texas where it was so Republican, it was such a Republican stronghold that John Cornyn, who's the state senator of the state of Texas, local, that that district, it was 92 or 93% Cornyn when they cut that district out. There's no way a Democrat is going to win. And I'm not talking about for the U.S. Senate. I mean for the Texas State House. Texas Rep or Texas Senate. There's no way a Democrat can win. They carved these districts out. We just went through it with the census when we redistrict the lines. They are looking at the fact that black people, but black women in particular, are the backbone of the Democratic Party. So what do? You go find a black woman for sale. They are prostituting out our districts. This is prostitution.
Yep.
Now, she might not be straight up flat backing, although it's doubtful that she's not. But I'm saying straight up, unequivocally, categorically, this is prostitution.
Trading goods for services.
And you are voting for a prostitute because she's selling the district out. It's 27 point something billion with a B, that is coming to North Texas, right? And part of it's really more than that. But I think $2.763 billion is for infrastructure. You know what that means? Jobs. We are right now faced with during this pandemic, we have China, where they're talking about supply chain and how you can't get stuff, right? Can't get what you need. Baby formula. You can't get baby formula because of supply chain issues. So much is manufactured and or packaged. There is this one guy that does like something like 30% of all packaging in the world in China. And he is struggling to find routes to get the packaging that we are using. So even if they say it's made in the USA, a lot of times it's packaged in China. So we can't get the goods and services. Baby formula being the most critical. You're hearing about that.
Had to travel like an hour away for baby
formula, and they're buying it in other states and having it sent. This lady says she spent over $1,000 buying baby formula because people are gouging the prices. Baby formula from other places because of supply chain issues. Let me be very clear. Right now, there is a push in the Biden administration. It kind of started with Obama, but y'all let Obama get away with not doing a lot. So right now in the Biden administration, there's this talk about manufacturing, bringing it back to the United States and how to get these conglomerates, these Fortune 500 companies to do that. What kind of deals need to be made where they will bring jobs back to the United States? If you have someone prostituting your district out and $2.27 billion is coming to the district, if they flat backed for $3.6 million, I'm using flat back as a metaphorical term. It's proverbial. I don't know if she's flat backing or not. Highly possible though. Then what you are saying is that you don't think they're going to do it for $27 billion. Yeah. Then I got a bridge out here in my backyard I want to sell you, because she's already demonstrated what she's willing to do. And she's grinning and skinning in y'all's faces, and y'all are taking it. And that's the part I don't understand.
And the thing is, just because you can party with someone or you feel like you can even have cocktails with someone doesn't mean that just because you have a level of comfort with them doesn't mean this is the person you should be comfortable with making decisions on your behalf. That's just the truth, because a lot of people you are comfortable with, I mean, I have friends, I love them, but I wouldn't do business with them.
No.
And we can have
too.
contact in their family too. And that's okay. She may be a cool person to hang out with. I've never hung out with her. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean I don't want her to hang. Yeah, but I also don't want her to, you shouldn't want her to hang you.
Uh-oh. You don't want to hang out with her because you don't want her to hang you.
Me.
Yeah.
If someone gets too close too fast, no, there's a huge objective. And 9 times out of 10, it ain't in none of your interest.
And you gotta stop.
And you gotta stop being blindsided and
call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
If you know that over the last 15 years, you can't say one thing EBJ did for you that you personally feel like, oh, okay, that happened. You can't say, I know a girl who is Nigerian who specifically said, this is what Trump did to me. I had my first child and my grandmother was barred because of where she lives, coming into the country and being with me at this time. That's something that personally happened to her. You tell me this personally happened to me because of EBJ's legislation, then I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna shut up. Let me finish. Mm-hmm. So if she has endorsed someone, you have to ask yourself, well, how does this endorsement benefit me? It's just a name you know. But this name that you know, we got Bush in office as president because you ding-dongs, well, not y'all, because the ding-dongs don't really listen to my show, the Bush supporters, but the other ding-dongs, they said, there's somebody I would like to have a beer with. What? So then we ended up in a war, a 20-something year war. Because you wanted to have a beer with him.
And I don't even know if many of y'all had that beer with him. Now y'all bought beer. But did not have one with him.
I don't understand. I really don't understand, and I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because, and I'm gonna let you make your point, Lola. I'm frustrated because there is so much at issue here. Okay, if you're driving down, I know this is, we normally talk about things that are going on all over the world in the United States, but this is a local race. This impacts my mom and my dad because of cuts to Medicare. This impacts whether or not you're going to be able to put gas in your car. Now, listen, Biden is not at fault for gas. Y'all need to stop that. Don't fall for the okie doke. Gas is determined by OPEC, which is a global leader who determines the price of oil. And so what we need to be talking about is billionaires and these companies that are not allowing us. They said, well, the price of oil is set by OPEC. Okay, yeah, but the price of gas is set by the oil companies. Now, Biden said he's going to open the reserves and he's going to bring it down. I paid $4.59 for some gas. I'm pissed. If you are upset about gas and you feel like in a minute you're going to have to make a decision between Chipotle and going to work, then you need to be thinking to yourself, if this person gets in office, what else is going to happen?
I never really look at, and this is not because I have it like that. Lord knows I don't. But, I mean, gas is a necessity.
Yeah, you got to go somewhere.
You have to get gas. And so even though we talk about the price of gas or whatever, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. But it was on Tuesday that I sat at the pump so long.
Deliberated. See, that's me.
I said gas was, because the day before I think it was like $3.59.
Right.
No, it was like $3.19 or something.
Because I remember over $1.
It shot up double over the price it was within less than 24 hours. It was $4.40. With $3.19, you thinking I can at least get me 3 gallons of gas.
If you on a 10 spot,
you like I can function and figure it out.
Yeah.
But when your gas is almost $5, I don't live in California.
That's right.
I'm not really sure what, and you're taking it personal. I was like, did I do something? Is this a personal attack on my character? Did I lie? Like, you saying prayers like, God,
why me, Lord?
And then your boss, if people are requiring you to come into an office, forget COVID. I know, I'm glad we survived. It was serious. But I got one strong reason to work remote right now.
And it's gas.
It's gas.
It's the price of gas.
Because I am going into work with a whole attitude. I want you to say something. Because I want to talk about how I spent over. And if you have an issue, over.
Yeah.
And we'll get to dating, but to this point, when someone rolls up in a Mercedes or, a nice luxury car, I'm not thinking, man, I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of money for your gas. How do I know? Because I can't get regular. $4.40 was regular, and I could not purchase.
And I paid $4.59 for mid-grade gas. So
yeah, I couldn't even. We can't even.
So now everybody got to teach their car to take regular. Like, you got to teach your car. We can't do that no more.
Afford that because if something happens
to my car, that's right.
Who gonna fix it?
So I think when you are struggling to understand where we are in this thing, then you really need to pay attention to what people have done, what their track record is. I'm going to talk a little bit about Jane. I know a person you can say that I'm biased, and I've said this before. I think the most recent thing that she did was when they, in Plano, had that little boy drinking urine and they were beating him. And, she got wind of it. And then somebody asked, could the mom call her? Now, here's the thing. Why does someone know to call Jane Hope Hamilton? She's sitting on her couch. She's always had her hand in it, but she did go off. She went to Noodle and she started trying to actually bring affordable education, post-baccalaureate. So after you graduate from high school, how can you afford college? So she went to Noodle to start working on how people can actually afford college. And then they didn't have, there were online classes. How do we make that more affordable? Because, gas might go up and we might have another pandemic and, I don't know, Rain Man may fall from the sky. Anything could happen at this point. So how does that happen? So she still stayed in politics, but in a different endeavor. And I think it's important for us to talk about the fact that when she got this call and they said, can the mother call you? And she was like, well, yeah, I don't know what I can do. And she listened to the mother. She immediately started doing her research. She said, wait a minute, it's already something here. It's already something in the books in Texas. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So she called State Rep Jose Menendez. She said, hey, you wrote a law, for David's law, but it's really a recommendation for schools. He said, yeah, I wanted to do more. She said, okay. She used her relationships, and y'all need to understand, Jasmine doesn't have any relationships. People don't even like her. So you're going to send this girl to Congress, and she can effectuate nothing. Jane uses her relationships, and it is now law. You see all these people having these things about bullying? It's because of Jane Hamilton. Because now it's not a recommendation. You have to be able to not only say that you have done these things and that you have written policy in your schools, you have to be able to prove it. Yeah. You have to be able to substantiate it. Now you can go to court and say what they did and did not do. And understand me well, this is why this is so important. Because a lot of these charter schools that y'all keep flocking to, they're not under the same guidance or guise of Texas Education Agency. They are really operating independently in this some kind of ridiculous silo. And so they govern themselves. So when something happens with a teacher or a school district, that board, that district's board makes the final decision. And there is immunity in the courts for these schools, charter schools, school district, independent school district. There's immunity. So you need a law to say you are required to do A, B, and C. Jane Hope Hamilton made it a law. You got kids in school, grandkids, your next door neighbor's child you like, then you vote for Jane Hope Hamilton. Because Jasmine has done nothing.
Nothing at all. I mean, even to the point where, and I will say this, when it was 2018 and we needed everybody and their mama to come out and vote, and this is when Colin Allred ended up getting in office. End up pulling a lot of seats in the Democratic Party. Yeah. Jane was the one who made sure that these nonprofits had the resources to get these people to the polls.
That's right.
She made sure when people were budgeting out that they did not leave us out. Did not every church had the resources to make sure their congregation, not in just the city of Dallas.
Right.
And I ain't telling you what I heard, I'm telling you what I know.
What we know happened.
The state of Texas had the resources to get the people to those polls and vote. And that's why we had the largest turnout. And the reality of the situation is that she did not take $2.3 million and use it for whatever she wanted it to. She used it to make sure we all had what we needed to exercise our rights.
And I think it's important to say that right now in the United States, it's 80 million people, Democrats voted, something like 78 million people voted on the Republican side, and you have 101 million people that are not voting. So we need to have a conversation about why y'all are just letting things happen to you. You're saying it doesn't matter. Oh, no, it matters. You want your trash picked up, you better get to these municipal elections. You want this $27 billion in North Texas, and it's money going all over the United States. Then you need jobs. You need better health care. You need transportation. You need to be able to get on a bus and go sometimes because gas is high. Then you better be voting, because this is serious. And it's not just Jasmine that's selling us out. These Democrats are selling us out all over the nation.
Absolutely.
And they are pouring money. The Republicans are pouring money for these prostitutes who are selling you out.
Because nobody should be surprised about how the Supreme Court ruled. Is trying to rule.
And stop you from being able, and they're not just stopping you from women's rights.
Because
they're stopping, there's not gonna be, if you're concerned about trans rights, then you need to be voting. If you're concerned about whether or not a gay couple is gonna be able to keep custody of their adopted children when one dies, or they're gonna be able to have a family nucleus, then you need to be voting. Because the Supreme Court can make whatever decision, and you learn in law school it's the supreme law of the land, but Congress and the Senate can put a law on the books that supersedes and overrules that law. Yeah, this is so serious, But I want to say, y'all have got to stop voting for people because you like her girl's wig. Y'all got to stop doing that.
And if you like her wig, we got a whole nother.
Y'all need to stop voting for people because of colorism.
Or because she's just cool. Or you feel like
she look cool. Because she looks so run over, you feel like you can relate to her.
No.
Y'all got to stop doing that. You want somebody who day one has relationships. Jane knows the chief of staff. They say, oh, that's a problem. It's not a problem. You need somebody who people respect and like so that when she starts writing policy, and she has written policy, she has stood on the floor and gotten policy passed. You want that experience. Y'all, I'm so disappointed in y'all. I mean, y'all are telling me about this girl, and well, I like how she's got something to say.
She cool.
She cool,
well,
but she talks about it. She ain't never been about it. You want somebody head down. You say you don't know Jane, get to know her. She's out there working for 21 years. I'm voting for Jane Hope Hamilton. I think that you all need to follow my lead. I don't never tell y'all what to do, for real. I try to slide it in. I try to be more subtle, more indirect. I'm telling you what to do. Vote for Jane Hope Hamilton. Election day is May 24th. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, Wiley College, and then we're going to touch on Lola's Love Life. This is Cora with the Black Tea Sip. In a minute, babies.
Listen, the good news here is that I'm in the runoff, against $2.3 million cryptocurrency super PAC funded by one person and a 30-year incumbent. But I'm here, and this is a complete reset. And that's what we're hearing, seeing on the ground. We have to remember that first round, there were 9 of us. I had no name ID. I've never been on a ballot. I've never run for anything. But in this race, I am the candidate who has worked in Congress, having served on the U.S. House Rules Committee and as a chief of staff to Congressman Mark Vesey. I am the most qualified and the most prepared, and that is what voters are seeing.
One of your opponent's biggest strengths is the endorsement of Eddie Bernice Johnson. You mentioned she's a 30-year incumbent. How do you overcome that backing?
I have had a lot of electoral victories here that people thought were impossible, and they looked like mountains that were too hard to climb. For example, in 2006, leading the effort to elect the first African-American district attorney in the state of Texas, or whether it was Wendy Davis in Tarrant County, who I helped elect, or whether it was most recently President Biden when I served as his statewide director in the primary. This is a very comfortable space for me because I know that when you communicate directly with voters and you're able to tell your story and talk about your experience and your record, then voters really respond well to that. That's what I've been doing now for 20 years.
And you just basically touched on this, but you have never held elected office. So what do you think prepares you for this?
Congress is a very different beast than the state level. I've had the opportunity to work in both houses. So I worked for Representative Helen Giddings when I first started my policy work. And as I mentioned, I also worked in Congress. Understanding how Congress works, understanding how legislation is passed, and walking in on day one with relationships like with Jim Clyburn, who is our majority whip, and with relationships with chiefs of staff and Congressman Mark Vesey, and many people that I've had a lot of experience with working on legislation. That's going to be very, very helpful to me. And in the role as a chief of staff, we were in a minority. And the beautiful thing about that is that I know how to still get things done in the minority. For example, we were able to secure hundreds of millions of federal funds for Congressional District 33 at the time. That benefited voters right here in North Texas. And so that's what I plan to do again. I plan to work across the aisle, and I plan to work with my Democratic colleagues to make sure that we are delivering for the people in these communities. Congressional District 30, it is very diverse, but it's time that we say no to the status quo. We need to make sure that federal funds are getting to places like.
All right, we're back. This is Cora with the Black Tea Sip. If you were looking at a portion of Jane Hope Hamilton's interview with Gromer and Lone Star Politics, I think we have beat you up enough about voting. So I just want to give a shout out to, we started this show at the 11 o'clock hour talking about we need to be our own village. We need to be seen about ourselves. Shout out to the donor for Wiley College who paid off all the student debt.
Yep.
And those students graduated debt-free. Shout out to all of those who are now empowering HBCUs, where we're really looking out for ourselves. Madam Soror, Vice President Kamala Harris, has continued to champion HBCUs and the legacy of that education. So I just want to give a shout out to the HBCUs all over and the graduates, past, present, future.
Shout out to Clark Atlanta. Today's their commencement ceremony. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Paul Quinn College had theirs last week. We are seeing that more and more students are starting to go that way. So that makes me really, really happy. And more athletes, we talked about it last week, that are going to the draft, coming out of HBCU. So listen, we can see about ourselves and still do what we want to do. I want to talk a little bit about Lola's love life. You were at the draft, but you didn't come back with a ring. What happened?
I was working. So the draft has taken a lot out of me. I'm still recovering, but I was working. So with that being said, I actually have my first date on Sunday. It is a blind date, so I'm looking forward to it. Well, you know,
so we done went from online to blind date?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm still online. Here's the thing. I'm going to get back to getting in the habit of checking those messages, because I don't check
too busy.
The message. Yeah. But I am glad that I'm still being intentional. So I will be going out on a date. His name is Charles. Seemed nice. I don't know if it's a blind date, because we did get a picture of each other. Our mutual friends did show us that. Well,
this is mutual friends. So you know, there's a reference point there.
No, because I've had some friends and I question our friendship. You know, it's like, I mean, you clearly don't know me, and I don't know what you thought about this was a good idea. But okay. But I look forward to it. We have talked on the phone a few times, and so he's actually gonna make his way closer to where I live instead of where he is, because I told him if I come out that way, then I'm just gonna be out that way, because gas.
Yes, it's too high. So if you buy the gas, then he'd have to pay for a whole.
He would have to pay for a lot more than it's just that I'm not set up the way he is.
Oh, okay.
You know, so and I'm okay with that. So he is gonna, and I thought that was really nice. So I can't wait to tell everyone how it's gonna be. He's 5 years younger, so
you're
he's
cougar.
about 30. Yeah, I guess so. He actually thought he was older than me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and when he found out, so he does have a kid, but he's open. So I thought that was even better.
Okay.
And so it's been some really good conversations
good.
since then. He seems really nice. He's a Kappa, and
then that happened.
And then that happened, and so I've never had the best luck with Kappas, but you know, my luck can turn around at any time.
This is true. If you're at the bottom, you can't go nowhere but up.
Right, and so yeah.
I know the Kappas like really coy. Well, some of y'all some good.
He's like 6'3" too.
Oh, so that canceled out the Kappa.
You know, there are some forgivable things. Like, I'll forgive this. So yeah, so I will.
You'll update us accordingly.
I'm really
I hope
excited.
It's juicy.
I know.
I hope it's a whole. What's that name? Zane episode, so we can get
where it gets real. Yeah. Because even at the draft, like someone actually was telling me when we were doing a recap meeting, you know, so and so asked about you and thought you was gonna meet them for dinner, and I was who. I didn't even know, and so that kind of, I was like, man, I could have missed out on something, but you know.
Well, how come they didn't reach out to you directly? Well, like, why were they sending it through Messenger?
I don't know, because I think it was in passing, and I may have thought it was a joke, but I'm telling you, when you're intentional, you make sure someone doesn't know that. I mean, you let them know. Yeah. And so, I think at this age, I definitely cannot be trying to read in between the lines, and make my own assumptions, because I'm going to assume this is going to be a waste of time and walk away. And since I don't want to waste any time, you know, I'm not going to. But yes, Charles is really cool guy so far that we've talked, and I can't wait because I haven't been on a date.
That's good. Just being me saying, how old are you talking about, Zane? I will be 50 on the 25th. so there's that. I will be 50, 50, half a century old on the 25th. So reach back to Zane. I don't know no young people do. I mean, what is that called? What's the name of that show where that man had the feather on the woman and everybody was reading them crazy books? They had 3 or 4 movies.
Should I say that? I know what you're talking about.
When they ended up getting married.
Those books were good though, and I really honestly believe that main character should have been black, because in the book he sound real black, and they definitely, his description was all
then
black.
If he had been black with a white woman, y'all had some more problems. So let's deal with that. All right. We've talked about a lot. I got on my soapbox, but that's me. That's what I do. I want you all to really think about what you want. Lola's more intentional with her dating. Think about what you want out of life. Think about what you need in the future. We're getting older. I want you to really have a conversation with yourself about how you want to move forward, whether it's in your love life, whether it's your health. I want to say this, and I'm going to get on out of here. Listen, we still have a pandemic, and we're just coping with it, kind of like a really, really bad flu. I don't, walking pneumonia everywhere. But what they're not telling you is to be healthy in the foods that you eat. You cannot eat a lot of, it's almost impossible to never eat processed foods because of, we don't always know what's going on in the kitchen, and we like to eat out, and the convenience of running through a drive-through. I don't typically do that, but it happens. I want you all to really think about not eating processed foods and start cooking at home, because, you're going to be more healthy if you're eating whole foods. And I don't mean you have to go to Whole Check to buy your whole foods, to buy your groceries, or Central Markup to buy your groceries. I'm just saying,
you'll save gas.
You will. Don't buy a canned good. Don't buy the green beans in the can. Get frozen. This is what I'm saying to y'all, okay? We need to pay attention to how we're eating, because a lot of us got up out of here because we didn't eat right. Yeah. They're not telling you that how you take care of your body is going to help you survive in this pandemic world. All right, many of you know I am remodeling. I want to give a shout out to Ty Samples. He's not only repainting my kitchen because this food messed it up. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to call his name. He messed up my cabinets. Messed them up. So Ty rescued me and came in. But he's also my landscaper. He's a jack of many trades, a master of many. And I want to give him a quick shout out to Ty. If you're looking for some remodeling, you're looking for painting, he's the guy that you call. So he's not only helping me with my kitchen, but he's getting my yard together. And I am grateful and appreciative of him. All right, y'all, we are going to get out of here, and we're going to do it again next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Shout out to Angelo, my engineer, who always makes sure that we're straight. And we'll see you next week. We'll do it again, and we'll talk about all the things that's going on in our black world. So, Melanated Nation, Melanation, stand up. Diamonds, pearls, and Jerry curls.